Ahoy, mateys! There be a Hollywood strike still out on the seven seas, a maelstrom of movie misery that just won't leave. Writers won't write, actors won't act, and nobody is getting their act together when it comes to restarting Hollywood. Yes, we've heard all the mainstream press out there talking about how a deal is so close to being done. The CEOs, they have come together. Joint statements of, we'll meet again tomorrow. They are flooding the airwaves, the press releases, etc. Well, we're here to tell you folks that Hollywood still doesn't have its act together, and it all has to do with the fact that they don't know where the money is. Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. So happy to have each and every one of you. You matter. And so does entertainment, and that's why we endeavor to explain it and keep you ahead of the culture curve. We endeavor to put you ahead of where you would be if you were just reading the mainstream and access media types out there. Today we're talking about Hollywood. We're talking about the fact that they don't seemingly want to work. At least they are not willing to work if it means working together, because they don't like each other. And who do we talk about there? Well, we're talking about the CEOs, the corporations, the studios, the distributors, the writers, the actors. They can't get their act together because they're just so frustrated. And it all has to do with the fact that streaming is king. And streaming doesn't seem to bring the money anymore. The moolah, the dinero, the green stuff. They want it. They can't have it. And as that pie is shrinking, all the parties are fighting over it. Let's dive into what's going on with the great, the phenomenal Paul Chatto, former TV executive. This one coming to us from the Los Angeles Times. WGA and studios meet again as Hollywood holds its breath amidst the strike. Here's what we've got. Remember, folks, by the way, that they were thinking that it could come to an end today. The longer this goes on, the less it looks like it's going to happen. But hope springs eternal. This by Wendy Lee and Meg James. The Writers Guild of America and major studios are meeting for the second time this week on Thursday. That's today, as the writer's strike has stretched for more than 140 days, and financial pain has rippled across the industry. After weeks of little progress toward ending the crippling strike, the two sides met Wednesday for the first time since August 22nd. As you can tell, they're really in a rush. Meeting that representatives for the writers described as a lecture and a brow-beating session. Now, they're calling the meetings that they've been having in the last, 48 hours more positive, and they've brought in the big dogs, the big chiefs. They've got Iger, they've got Sarandos and Zaslav, etc. But, Paul, this thing's been going on and going on. You and I have talked in the past about how particularly what is making this so difficult is that nobody knows where the money is coming from. It has gotten to the point now, if you take a look at this article from Deadline by Anthony D'Alessandro and Nelly Andriva, even Dancing with the Stars is pausing because they're being picketed and people are furious that it's going on. You can see this with other shows. We've seen Drew Barrymore, we've seen Bill Maher and more cave in and give in, and they go off air. What in the world is going to happen if, with all of this hoopla surrounding the latest 48 hours, if this falls through, what do you think happens with the Hollywood strike?
I think, there's a couple things. Number one, I think if we start seeing the meet more often, that's a positive trend. Okay. If suddenly there's lots of meetings, that means we're going to be coming to an end quickly. Number two, again, I always think back to the other strike in 2007, where the talk show hosts actually were allowed to go back to work as long as they didn't use written material. They were still allowed to interview. But so my question is, what's different? Why aren't these talk show hosts okay. Yeah. So there's my question. I have a theory, but who
I heard a hand go up.
It was me. Because those late night
different fingers, Spencer,
were mouthpieces.
I'm trying here.
they were mouthpieces for the Writers Guild. Because it was front and center. They were showing the entire time. They were representatives of the union in that way, saying, "Hey, look at the quality of our show because we don't have writers." And I don't think I'm getting that vibe from Bill Maher. But I would rather hear what Paul has to say.
Well, no, there's a couple things. Number one is we have a massive shift in that 2007 was still appointment television on networks. People, things like not Stargate, but MacGyver was on the tail end of his there are a lot of popular shows on. This was toward 2010. This is the slow decline and rapid decline of network television. So the talk shows were not as big a deal because the writers had a much larger not weapon, but lever. They had more leverage because the audiences really loved their regular shows, and those were going to be affected much greater. And the talk shows, which have a much smaller audience late at night, it didn't mean as much. Now it's like the talk shows are the only thing anyone talks about. And if they let the talk shows back, that means they've lost.
Which really says something because the talk shows themselves seem diminished in power.
Exactly. This is the nutsiestness, if that's a word, of this entire situation. They're grasping at straws. They should have just let the talk shows back, but they couldn't. I understand why, because that's the only thing anyone talks about. As bad as they are,
do you think it speaks to desperation that they're trying to shut down shows like Dancing with the Stars?
Yep.
And I'm sure this will go to others. I mean, which side do you think has the power right now?
Well, hold on, the studios, AMPTP has. And you notice the shows that they're shutting down are the ones they would do clips of for YouTube.
That's a very good point.
Because they were the only ones that actually had some kind of connection to the digital universe, let's call it, like us, the people who surf YouTube, and that Dancing with the Stars had lots of clips. All the talk shows, nonstop clips. YouTube was, I don't know, coerced. We always wonder what kind of influence the networks and the studios have on YouTube because of just the number of Colbert clips that went not viral.
Yes, they had a special ad classification.
Boosted. Yeah.
Yeah, so you're always wondering about, okay, how come they're always at the top of the suggestion list, but they're gone, and no one talks about whether that's affected YouTube's money either. That's something that struck me, and I don't know if there's anybody out there that can figure out whether YouTube has been affected by this strike.
That's a good. Yeah, haven't even thought of that, Paul.
It's up to you, bounding into comics.
It is up to us now. Like that's why I said it first. You let me finish. I go, I haven't heard that, Paul. But now I'm going to look into it.
Give me credit.
I will
give me
say
a byline.
The standards for those late night talk shows and for news channels, legitimate, because YouTube was trying to change their perception in the public space. They were pushing down news channels that were native to YouTube in favor of all these network news channels and also the late night shows. The late night shows could make the same joke to a worse degree and not be touched, but anyone who even got close to a sketchy topic that wasn't part of one of those larger organizations that were buying ads, they would almost immediately get demonetized or limited ads. It was probably demonetized at that point because it was before limited ads. So yeah, there's a lot of collaboration there between YouTube and the big networks.
Yes, and it's funny too because YouTube has an opportunity right now to grow leaps and bounds by being the stopgap to providing content to an audience out there that's desperate for it. But Paul, what are your thoughts on the impact of the California State Senate passing Bill 799, which gives unemployment benefits to picketers? Do you think that gives any kind of extra life to them? I mean, I think that disincentivizes an end.
Nah.
You don't think so?
No. I think they're almost past the point of not having money to just desperate for work in general. I don't think they want the money; they want the work. That's my
there's dignity that comes with work.
Yes, that's it. They want to
right. They didn't dream about moving to Southern California to stand in the sun with a sign. That wasn't the reason for making the move.
Unless it's one of those giant arrows that says please come into my smoke shop.
You've got to be able to spin it and flip it and turn do the 360s. That's right.
Two slices for every cannabis.
Yes.
We laugh, Paul, but one day that will be a sport on ESPN The Ocho. Just hang tight. All right, cut it right there, folks. That is the conversation. So happy to have had you today. Wherever you are on this great, big, beautiful planet, we hope that you're having a good one. And you can help us have a good one too by clicking the like button, share, subscribe. Click it, stick it to the algorithms. It's the notification bell. and drop a comment down below. Join the conversation. This should not just be a couple of people on a video talking. Nay, this is for all of you as well. You are a part of the dialogue. You are the electricity that drives all the content we do here. We care about what you think. We covet those comments, so drop one down below. Folks, we will see you soon. And in the meantime, keep learning, keep growing, keep having fun.